Welcome to the Totally Not Made Up podcast, where we talk about things that are totally not made up. I'm Ruth Adams, and this is Meacham.
Hello.
We just watched an interesting movie. It's called Extraordinary, the Stan Romanek Story. And this film, produced by a nobody film company called J3 Films, follows the story, I guess, of Stan Romanek.
Yes.
An extraordinary individual.
Well, yeah, that's one way to describe him, I think.
Extraordinary?
Yes, he's
This motherfucker crazy.
He's like, yeah, that's one way of putting it.
This is like one of those movies that's it's about aliens.
It's a quote unquote documentary.
Yes.
That you can find on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. Yeah, I highly recommend it.
It's a brilliant dive into psychology of human beings.
This man is not okay.
No.
And we're going to talk about the film first, because there's a not so pending court case for this individual, which we'll bring up at the very end, because I think
the movie doesn't bring it up till the very end.
The movie doesn't bring it up to the very end, but once you know about this case and what it's about, it really colors your opinion on this fellow, one might say.
Very much.
Which is, I mean, we'll talk about it, and then
it'll be sprinkled throughout. Like
we'll make some mentions.
There'll be some hints.
Yeah. But let's just dive right in. I'll give an overview. Okay. We're kind of going to follow the plot of the movie, and we have comments and notes and everything.
It's structured in an unusual way.
It is. So, the movie starts out with just a prologue. Some documentaries do this. But basically, it's like, there are 13 years of documented alien encounters for different types of encounters. Like, there's different categories for them. And,
these things that have been affected Stan Romanek specifically.
Yes.
Like, these things that he has experienced, and they're called mesmerizing in the movie. Like, like he has this evidence. Once you reveal it, you'll be like, oh, wow, this is
I'm so
some
convinced.
Really impressive stuff that this one guy has experienced.
Yeah, and he's referred to in the movie as one of the most documented experiencers. They're called experiencers.
Yes.
They're not called abductees. They're not called anything like has had their butt probed.
Yeah, I wonder why.
They're experiencers because, you know, I guess I believe that they're experiencing something.
There's an experience is taking place. That's
For sure.
Undeniable.
For sure. So the movie is kind of broken into different types of experiences.
Yeah.
And it kind of starts off with footage, I guess, of UFOs.
Like, later on they reveal that this was like his first quote-unquote official sighting that he recorded, where he was just on the side of the highway next to, like, there's mountains in the background, there's some
power lines
going by, and he says, oh my god, you're gonna have a frickin' canary, which I just love. I've never heard that phrase before, and I'm probably gonna start using it now.
I'm pretty sure I've had a freaking canary over some shit.
And they refer to it as a multi-sphere UFO. But
it looks like...
It's just a fuzzy blob.
It looks like a fuzzy blob, and it actually looks like a bird.
Yeah, or something.
Like kind of diving. And this is like, this particular video, because, as you all know, all UFO videos are filmed by the most incompetent videographers in the universe.
Yeah, they're always shaky and
super shaky, zoomed in, just shit. That's what this is.
In and out, and everything's out of focus.
And they're always like, and in this case, Stan is like, whoa, like, you're not gonna believe this. I can't believe this is happening.
Like, just hyping the shit out of it.
It's like, fucking show me Double Rainbow, and I'll get on board, right? And so the movie kind of goes on, stating that, you know, apparently there are like over 100 documented experiences that this guy's happened. Do you have a number?
195.
195 documented experiences.
Documented by him.
By him. And they're not all the same.
No, they're like...
So the movie breaks it up by type. Yeah. So after the footage...
they put this text on the screen that's like, what he's written down about all these things.
He's journaled about all of it.
And then, like, they highlight different parts of them in different colors, and each color has its own category. And the first category is UFO sightings.
Yeah, and one of the things that is continued throughout the whole film, and I actually wrote this down because I felt like it really highlights his mental status, one might say. He keeps referring to how they're following him.
Yeah, like he's very...
Specifically.
He's very victimized.
He's like, they're following me, like this, and later on he sees the same orb multiple times because it's following him. He's a very paranoid individual.
Yeah, he's...
And it comes through, really, in the whole documentary.
Yeah, like in the one of the first video footage that they show is... He says, "Oh, this thing has been following me," and he videotapes it, and it's...
Standing still.
What do you know? It's weather balloon shaped.
Yeah.
But it's flashing with light.
But it's following him.
But it's following him.
Yeah, he's very paranoid.
Clearly a weather balloon. Let's just say, like...
It looks like one.
If you've seen a weather balloon, that's what it's shaped like. What a coincidence.
And he goes on to have, the second kind of section is, like, he, like, talks about, how he passes out all the time. And oftentimes when he passes out, he has an experience before or after.
So the second category was equations, remember?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
But they happen when he blacks out.
Well, the equations were stuff that he wrote while he was under regressive hypnosis.
Oh, that's right, which they talk about later. They kind of slip the equation piece in.
This is the weird thing about it. Like, it starts off like, here's the evidence, here's the evidence, here's the evidence. For the whole first, 45 minutes, it's just laying out the evidence, and then... After that, they contextualize it and explain it.
Yeah, it's not very good storytelling.
Which is kind of manipulative, actually. Because they're just like, here's some stuff, just overloading you with all kinds of weird shit that you can't immediately explain. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, well, here's our explanation for it, and you have to accept it. Yeah,
so he has these equations that are like, later on, when they explain it, they actually say how they're real fucking equations that people made up in the fucking 90s. So he's like, clearly... seeing them somewhere. Anyway, we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah, that'll come up again.
And so, he blacks out all the time. He either has encounters before or after. So it kind of sounds like he's going into some kind of delusional state. Yeah, like Tyler Durden style, like switching.
Like a dissociative fugue state, where he loses track of what he's doing, but things clearly happen to him, but he has no recollection of them. And he wakes up in places, he just randomly wakes up in a place he doesn't remember how he got there.
And then he sometimes wakes up with marks on his body that were made by him, probably.
Yeah, easily could be self-inflicted.
Like, what the hell? All of them were in a place where he could have made them himself. Plus, his evidence is, like, UV footage. Like, he puts a black light on himself and takes a picture.
And then he'll, like, put a filter over it. Yeah. Where it's like...
He does that throughout the whole thing.
He puts, like, an inverted filter and then, like, an embossed filter. Yeah. As if that proves anything.
Like, it's insanity.
It's like, he seems to think it proves something, but it's all just easily faked Photoshop stuff.
My favorite abduction experience is when he woke up with a bloody nose and pissing blood.
Yeah,
and doesn't go to the doctor.
Yeah, I would immediately go to the hospital
if you're pissing blood, you're in kidney fucking failure. Yeah, or you've been poisoned or some shit.
Or you're lying and you're not actually pissing blood. Or you just ate a lot of beets.
You can pee brown if your kidney, like if you have a really hardcore workout, it can alter the color of your urine because your kidneys are like overworked. I knew somebody that this happened to in college. Right. And we told him, go to the fucking doctor. Okay?
And plus, if you eat a lot of beets or like a lot of red cabbage, just the chemicals in there can stain your urine red colored. So maybe he's just a big fan of red cabbage.
And he also documented an experience in which he like wakes up cured of like injuries and stuff.
Yeah, of an ACL. His ACL goes away.
He apparently tears his ACL and hamstring. By the way, they're not really that close together. The ACL is on the front of the knee, and the hamstring attaches to the back. Okay? I actually know somebody very close to me who's had multiple ACL, MCL, and meniscus injuries and repairs. So I'm quite familiar with this particular type of injury. And basically, he's cured of it. Seems a little bit weird to me. Kind of seems like maybe... you were making it up.
Yeah.
Or maybe in his, like, weird fugue state, he convinced his waking self that he had an injury, right? And that he was magically cured when he was abducted by aliens.
Yeah, there was first category was UFO sightings, then there was the equations, then there was the abductions, which is what we're talking about now, with the things where he claims
something happened to him.
Like when he would wake up with weird injuries and stuff. And he was in this category that he mentions that, like, he has a camera mounted on the outside of his house.
Yes.
And the camera, like, this bright light shows up and it, like, shorts out the camera. And then afterwards, there's this weird shape around the camera.
Clean sighting.
The whole wall was dirty except for this one spot around the camera. And then, like, the next day, some random-ass people come up and, like, replace the siding on his house. And according to him, the landlord never asked anyone to come by and fix it, and neither did he. So these are just some random-ass people who showed up and replaced the siding, which allegedly was molecularly altered by this alien experience.
How could he even prove that?
How, like,
he clearly works at a sandwich shop or something, and he's, like, crazy. Like
he just said, oh, it was molecularly altered. Like, how would you know? Do you have an electron microscope in your garage?
Yeah,
Like,
you ain't got shit, dude.
You have no way to even know that. Next category was high strangeness, which is a funny title.
Was that the ghost one?
Yeah, this is the electronic voice phenomena and the ghost shadows.
Yeah, so there are, not only is there alien abduction shit happening at this guy's house, there's also hauntings. So he has a lot of EVP that he recorded and that was in the movie. There's also many, many ghost photographs that can easily be produced on any standard digital camera.
Yeah.
Okay, ghosts is a completely different subject, but just know that this guy's being abducted by aliens regularly, and his house is haunted. Okay?
What an amazingly important and unique guy he wants you to believe.
Yeah, and he also mentions, like I mentioned earlier, he's talking about how it's all about him. People are following him. Everything's affecting him.
Yeah,
this comes up again.
Yeah, he moves multiple times, and it keeps happening to him in all the different places.
Yeah, because he's fucking paranoid and delusional.
Yeah, during the high strangeness part, he records an EVP that says, "Starseed, it's time." In, like, this weird kind of high-pitched voice.
Oh, I wonder...
But only after you, like, slow down the thing a hell of a lot.
I wonder, though, if that's going to come back. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like...
What an unusual
maybe he would
title.
be special or something.
Like,
interesting.
Ooh, he's Starseed. What could that possibly mean?
Yeah, and he like, melts things in his sleep, or, like, when he's passed out.
Yeah,
So he just, like...
Category 5 came about, and it's interventions, and it's about... I guess just weird things happening in his life.
Again, paranoia.
Yeah.
There's a whole entire situation in which he gets, quote-unquote, jumped by some guys in an SUV, he claims.
They tell him to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, they tell him to keep his mouth shut. You know, he's jumped on his way to work on his bicycle. His injuries, like, I've done this to myself walking into the wall. Okay? Like, it's really not... They're not bad. They look fake. There is, however, a police report.
Yeah.
He filed a police report claiming that he was jumped.
He claims that somebody else called the cops and that he, told the cops what happened. But they show the police report on screen. At no point does it mention anyone else involved besides this guy.
Yeah. Interesting.
Nobody saw his attackers.
Interesting.
And at some point they show a bunch of footage of his computer, and the phrase "you can't hide" is written everywhere. Like, it's the screensaver, it's the desktop, it's like the name of the computer. Like, all this stuff gets changed, and he's like, ooh, they did this. They changed my computer trying to freak me out. Like, he could have had a fugue state and just, like, did that shit himself.
Remember this. They changed my computer. This will come back.
Oh, yeah.
This will come back.
His computer getting hacked is kind of important later.
Yeah, that's very important. And now we get onto the good shit, as I like to call it. What section was this called?
Was it the encounters?
Yes, encounters. Let me just tell you. This is my favorite part of the whole movie.
Yeah, this is probably the funniest part of the movie.
And we originally watched this last year sometime.
Yeah, it was like a year ago.
We do this for fun. We like to watch dumb, stupid alien shit on the internet. So we've seen this movie before. And this is where there's a lot of video footage. Surprisingly large amount of video footage of real aliens.
Like, he just happens to have his camera ready to go. Just all the time.
Strap right to his hip, you know?
Okay, let's assume that's true, that he does always have his camera at the ready. Mm-hmm. That's some paranoid shit right there.
Super paranoid.
But let's move on.
So, he I just gotta set this up. He's, this was the alien with around the window. This was at the slumber party, right?
It's the peeping Tom alien.
Yeah, so he, is married to a woman who has children.
Named Lisa, yes. And she has 2 kids, at least 2 kids. That they mentioned.
They are not his children.
No.
Okay? So he is talking about, or this video comes from a situation in which his stepson is having a slumber party. Or, I mean, I guess boys don't call it that. Sleepover.
The peeping Tom one came first. That was
it's
the one
same,
in the alien.
It's the same situation, right?
Well, the second one, the kitchen one, was
the kitchen was a sleepover.
The window one was the daughter.
The peeping Tom, yeah. He's like, I thought there was a peeping Tom around.
Trying to spy on my stepdaughter.
Remember this.
Yes.
Someone spying on his stepdaughter. Okay? Paranoid about that shit. And so there's a video clip of the peeping Tom, which is a stuffed alien head peeping over the windowsill. Yeah, clearly fake.
Like, it's okay. Like, it starts off, he's like, the camera is already set up, pointing at the window. He walks up to the window and sort of looks around, comes back, looks at the camera, and then walks off screen. Mm-hmm. And then, like, the footage flashes a couple of times.
Yes.
Which,
edit?
To me, I say that's an edit.
I think it's an edit, too.
He later on says that he went to the bathroom and he saw a flash of light under the door, and it was like blinding. Even though it was under the door, it was bright enough to be blinded in. Mm-hmm. And then right after that happened, he walks out and he sees his head popped out from there's a head,
and it's like big. It's probably like dinner plate sized.
Yeah,
and it's like a stereotypical gray.
Yeah, okay? It's just like a gray stuffed head.
It's clearly fake.
Yeah,
and it's just like peeps up over the windowsill. And then it goes back down, and then he runs up, and he's like, holy shit, what was that?
Yeah, it doesn't emote at all. Mm-hmm. It's just there, and it turns around like a freaking Muppet, and then it pops down, and then it kind of, a second time, it slowly peeks up over the corner, looks around, and then pops back down again.
Let's talk about this, though. Let's pretend aliens were watching him. Would they fucking need to do this? They, like, traveled across the fucking galaxy, right, in, like, 30 minutes because they got the super hyperspace drive or whatever. Like, would they need to, like, peep through this fucking guy's window to fuck with him?
Couldn't they do that from, like, fucking orbit?
They could do it from orbit.
Like, we can take Google image pictures of people's yards in, like, really high resolution.
Yeah.
And they have to peek through fucking windows?
And we could even do this with military satellites. Like, the stuff we see from Google, it has to be so far up, right?
Yeah.
For security purposes. But military satellites, they can fucking see a fly on the back of your hand.
Yeah, they can read headlines of newspapers and shit.
And, like, they have thermal imaging cameras and shit up there, so they can even peep through your fucking ceiling. Anyway, bullshit, okay? And he goes on to say that he found images on his camera.
Yeah, that was...
Which was this is my favorite part of the film, by the way. Because they're alien selfies.
Yes. It's like... Like, you've probably seen pictures of, like that...
grandparents, like, trying to take pictures. That's what these look like.
Or, like, that time that, like, a baboon or something, like, got a hold of someone's camera and took a bunch of pictures of it. It's like, imagine an alien did that. That's what these pictures are.
And, like, they're super close up. So they're, like, of its mouth, of its nose.
So this alien with super advanced technology is trying to figure out a digital camera.
Yeah, and they're trying to take selfies. It's like, bitch... Listen.
Like it didn't flash itself once and then it gets scared and set it down. No, it took multiple pictures at different angles.
Yeah, it was like trying to get the good lighting, the good angle. Like, he was going to post this up on his IG page, right? So he had to, like, get a good selfie. That was my favorite part.
Right before that was the alien head that kept popping up behind the porch.
Yeah.
Like, he had pictures of people...
Lots of pictures.
People just standing on the porch just for no apparent reason. And there was an alien head, like, peeking up between the, like, railings. And then later on they show, like, the whole thing, and it's clearly, like, an ornament. It's like a lawn ornament shaped like an alien. Yeah. But then, like, he's still trying to play it off like this is a legitimate sighting.
It's very sad. I feel bad for this guy in some ways, but I also don't, as you will hear later on, why I don't feel bad for him.
in the beginning, it's very seeming like, okay, this guy's just crazy.
It's very sympathetic in the beginning.
Yeah, weird shit's happening to this guy. It kind of sucks. I feel bad for him. But that quickly drains away the more you learn about him.
Yeah, the more you learn about Stan Romanek, the less sorry you feel for him. Especially when the interview portion of the movie starts.
Yeah.
The next section, though...
No, right after the alien selfies was the kitchen thing.
Oh, yeah, the kitchen thing. We have to talk about this.
That's when it gets fucking
Because this
weird.
this is the slumber party.
Yeah.
His stepson has friends over, and he is sleeping in the living room for some reason. Probably because his wife is like, get the fuck out of here or something. I don't know. So he's sleeping in the living room and sees somebody naked run past him.
He says like a small naked figure just run by in the periphery of his vision.
His first instinct is to grab his camcorder to record the naked figure because he thinks it's his stepson and he wants to blackmail him.
Yeah, that's a totally reasonable thing to do.
But it turns out, just kidding, an alien was in his house and he runs to the kitchen and the alien's peeping his head around the sliding glass door saying, ha ha ha. Like, it's
so clearly fake.
It's super fake.
Like, I don't know what's funnier. The thought of somebody holding out a doll, like, around the corner to freak him out, or the thought of an actual alien leaning out, remaining perfectly stiff, and slowly backing away. Like, it's so ridiculous.
My headcanon.
And his whole time, he's just like, oh my god, it's there! What do they want from me? What is it? Oh god, jeez, guys!
It's bad acting.
He's playing it up for an audience that isn't there.
Yeah, especially since, apparently, like, it's just like, what are you doing, son? Because, like, you're acting as shit, or you're really this pathetic.
Yeah, like, that's like there have been that footage I've seen before of the UFO drawing crop circles, and the dude's reaction is, wow. Like, that's the number one giveaway that it's fake, because if you were to see that in real life, you would shit your pants and die.
You would be like the fucking double rainbow guy. Like, I know I mentioned him earlier.
Like, that would be you would not just sit there and be like, oh wow, geez, oh my god.
You would sound like the double rainbow guy, right?
Like, you would scream and shout, and you'd freak out, and you would not hold the camera steady.
Yeah.
Like, that would not happen.
It's insanity.
Okay, next category is Audrey calls.
This is the recovered memories, right?
No, this is the
calls, the phone calls.
The voice that calls them. Remember the...
Yeah, what's her name? She has a name.
They called it Audrey.
Audrey, yeah. So this is very fake.
Yeah. Like, what was that? It was a...
It's clearly
I Speak? Or whatever it's called?
It's a program. It's like the voice recordings...
Like, you type... This is the text-to-speech.
It's a text-to-speech
program. It's a really, really early, cheap text-to-speech program. With a slight British accent, because it's not very good.
And here's where that shit start to stank real bad.
Yeah.
Because he's having conversations with a pre-recorded message.
Yeah.
And he's clearly acting.
Yeah. Okay? Like, he's reading from a script. It's
very, very obvious. And... another thing starts to happen here.
It calls him Starseed.
It calls him Starseed.
Just like the EVP from earlier.
Yeah.
How coincidence.
And this also starts the, I don't want to call it special knowledge, but transition, I think, I have a quote, transition into the next step.
Yeah, like weird noises start playing over the phone line that he says makes him feel funny and pass out.
Yes.
Which sounds like a seizure to me.
Kind of sounds like a seizure, but it also sounds like y'all trying to fucking manipulate somebody, Stan, because these were conference calls.
Yeah, there was like multiple people on him, and he was the only one who was affected by it. Yes. And then like later the voice calls back, and it's like, we're sorry that we didn't mean to affect him like that. We're just trying to help him
transition into the next step.
Yeah.
Which is very cultish.
Yeah, like this is really this whole transcendental...
awakening
uniqueness
type thing
of him. Yeah,
it's disgusting. There's another section here where they talk about
the children.
Oh,
the children.
Because it starts off with photos, though, I think.
Yeah, still pictures.
Similar to the wonderful alien photos from before, except instead of an alien, it's a picture of a girl cut out.
It's like
hidden in the background of photographs.
Like it's just like before with the alien picture behind the railing on his porch.
Except it's a girl.
It's a picture of a girl behind the railing. Like he's taking a picture of a picture. Like if you've ever seen a picture of a picture, you know what that looks like. This is what it looks like.
But he also uses the filters to try to prove that she was really there.
Again, he does the whole embossing negative of the filters.
Which
as
means
if that,
jack shit. Yeah.
It
this
means
doesn't mean
nothing.
anything. So yeah,
starts getting calls from this little girl.
And the film also starts at this point to focus on him convincing other people.
Yeah, like him showing this to other people and then being like, wow, that's really impressive, Stan.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to convince people that this is real. And unfortunately, they're buying into it. That's what I think is upsetting about this.
Yeah, like the little girl calls, what was the name that they gave it? Like Kioma?
Kioma, I think. Something
like that. And like she calls and she calls him Daddy and calls him Starseed just like the other voice did. It just sounds like a higher pitched version of the fake voice from before.
Yeah, it's really like, it's bullshit.
He said at one of the UFO conventions he went to, a little girl ran up to him, gave him some flowers, called him Daddy, and ran off.
Bullshit.
And the only evidence they have of that is him standing out in a parking lot holding the flowers that she gave him.
Yeah, it's like, bro, I could take that picture right now. like I have a parking lot out back.
And the little girl's voice on the phone are saying that they're excited about his talk. Because he gives like speeches and stuff at these UFO conventions he goes to because he's such an important guy.
Yeah, that kind of sums up the evidentiary portion of the film, and it gets into the interviews. Yeah. And let me just preface this by saying, if you're given an interview for a documentary, you're on board.
Yeah.
Okay?
Like, you agree to this. You signed paperwork.
There's not, you signed a release form. Somebody who disagrees with you ain't going to be in your documentary. You're only going to get people, and you're only going to find people that really agree with you. Okay, so let me just say that right now. So the types that there's interviews with him.
Yeah, it starts off with people talking about him. And they say that Stan is unique and sensitive, but otherwise he's completely normal.
Yeah, which is like, okay, you know who else is unique and sensitive? Like all the fucking serial killers out there who lure victims. Just saying.
Like every interview you hear about serial killers after they get caught with all the people who knew them, they're like,
I thought he was normal.
He just seemed like the most normal guy ever.
Yeah. So it kind of starts off with that.
They talk about his childhood a little bit.
But you have to remember when you're watching a film like this, there's a message.
Yeah, like they're pushing an agenda this whole time.
And it can be easy to forget about that when you're watching something that's supposed to be evidentiary. But this really does have an agenda, okay? So it starts off with talking about his family and how he was in a military family and they moved around a lot. Yeah, which says to me, desperate for attention.
Yeah. He claims that he had dyslexia as a kid. Mm-hmm. And that the teachers abused him, locking him in closets and calling him a retard.
Which bothers me a lot.
Like, that's one, if that's true, fucked up, not cool ever in any situation. Never, that should never happen.
If we accept his statement that he was abused as a child, a lot of his behavior makes sense.
Yeah, like all this weird alien shit could just be a coping mechanism.
Yeah, which
him just trying to deal with all this fucked up shit that happened to him as a kid.
But it also starts off with, he talks about how he's religious.
Yeah, like his family was religious.
His family was really religious. He talks about...
Like, he grew up in a neighborhood where there were Crips and Bloods, and that they picked on him.
Except he grew up in, the fucking Midwest or some shit somewhere.
Yeah, it's really unclear. Like,
he doesn't say.
He talks about how he moved around a lot, and yet we're supposed to believe that this entire time he always ended up in a neighborhood where there was gang activity, and he was always just living in a shitty, poor neighborhood. But if you're a military family, you live on base.
You live on base, yeah.
Like, that's not there aren't Crips and Bloods on base.
No. It's very, if you pay close attention to his interview specifically, you will notice he contradicts himself every third sentence, it seems.
Yeah, it's very... I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's kind of cultish.
It's super cultish.
He's got some real cult leader vibes, where he's just just presenting it as I am so unique and I don't want this, but boy, it's happening to me, so I just need to tell everybody about it.
He's also, just as a description of him, soft-spoken. He kind of looks harmless, But clearly he can convince people of the craziest shit. Alright?
Yeah, he claims early on that when these experiences started happening,
he didn't believe it.
That he didn't believe it. So he told his wife Lisa about it.
His girlfriend.
Well, girlfriend at the time, yeah. Mm-hmm. And she tells him that it's probably aliens, and he doesn't believe. And he says that she had to convince him that it's aliens.
But it's an interesting point because she gave him a gateway to manipulate her more.
Yeah, like I think she might have just this is pure speculation here, but he would probably talk to her. Like he might have already knew that she believed in this alien stuff. So he would just kind of feed her little things like, oh, here's this weird thing that happened to me. But I don't know what it was.
And then he would get validation from her. And I think it's like, he's extremely manipulative and probably a sociopath. For reasons we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah. We kind of touched on it already. You probably already know where we're going with this.
He's very he is clearly extremely successful at manipulating people to get what he wants, to make sure people think about him in a specific way.
Get them to believe him, and he's good at putting up that I'm just a regular guy.
A regular guy. It's fucked up.
There's a part where he talks about some sleep paralysis stuff that happened where aliens injected thoughts into his head.
Yes.
Like he had thoughts that he says were not his.
So that
and that he would wake up in just weird places. He didn't know how he got there.
And this is also the point where he starts talking about hypnosis.
Yeah, the regressive hypnosis sessions.
Which are very problematic for many different reasons, which you might know of.
I think we might make a whole episode to it later on, because regressive hypnosis is a fucking loaded subject.
It's also, clearly, just in the snippets we've seen in the film, he was being led on his questions.
Yeah, it was highly edited too.
Yeah,
because there could have been really leading questions
for sure
that they didn't even bother to show at all. But the little bit that they did show was very suspicious, problematic.
And during these regressive hypnosis therapy sessions, we learn about his sex dreams.
Yes,
so the aliens took him up to the ship, and there was another woman there, always the same woman, and they would do sexy things together. Because the aliens were studying sex. They were fascinated by it.
Genetics and reproduction and all that.
Yeah, I mean, who would want to reproduce with this motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? Which is very strange because they interview his wife about this. And they're talking about it, and she's pissed off about it.
Yeah, there's significant parts of the interviews where she's basically defending him and standing up for him and saying there's no reason for him to lie about this stuff, which is why I believe him. But as soon as they start talking about the whole him interacting with another woman while abducted, then she starts getting I'm not okay with this part of it.
However, it gets even more juicy. Y'all gonna love this. Lisa and Stan are at an alien UFO convention, and Stan sees a woman. I mean, he thinks it's the fucking chick he's been fucking in the alien spaceship.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that woman. She's the woman I've been seeing in my alien abduction visions.
And Lisa's
my regressive hypnosis
Lisa
stuff.
Is I smell bullshit.
Yeah, she immediately is suspicious of it.
But basically, they become friends, and they deal with a lot of jealousy, and it becomes a weird three-way relationship.
Yeah, they get really close.
Her name is Victoria.
Yeah. I should mention away that he tells her
about
she's the woman that he met in the abductions. At no point does she independently verify that she remembers seeing him. He tells her,
and she's convinced,
and she gets convinced by him pretty easily. I
would say too, and they talk about how they have really deep conversations.
Yeah, they would disappear together.
Yeah, and Lisa, the poor wife, is I'm pissed off and upset because this is when Stan and I met. And we would have these deep conversations. And so clearly he's grooming Victoria.
Yeah, she mentions how she noticed that Lisa was not okay with this. And she claims that, she feels bad. But it's such a strong connection with Stan. She just can't help but pursue it.
And Lisa, I mean, she's eventually I'm cool with it.
Victoria's hotter than Lisa, I should mention, too. Like,
but I bet Lisa.
What a coincidence that he would see this hot woman at a UFO convention
and say that was her. That was her.
It's like, oh yeah, that's her. Totally. Let's go talk to her.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. And this is another part of the film where it really struck me that he's manipulating people en masse. Yeah. It's not just his wife and family.
The little girl, like the children,
friends, it's everybody.
The alien children that he meets in the abduction experiences, where like he claims, where was it? Like he would be up with the other woman up in the while he was in his regressive hypnosis, remembering all this shit, and there would be like a group of children there, and they would like there would be this one specific girl that would like run up and grab his leg, and she had like the big almond-shaped eyes, and he just by looking at her, he knew like this is my daughter, this is my alien daughter that I had with this other woman somehow, and that comes up later too.
Yeah, it's very like. It's just, like, he's so manipulative, and that's what really strikes me in, like, this portion of the film is, like, he's manipulating his wife, he's manipulating Victoria, he's manipulating his friends, he's manipulating these investigators, he's manipulating everybody he can get his little grubby mitts on.
Yeah, this is the part where I wrote very culty behavior. Because, like, he's convincing his wife, there's this other woman who I need to have lots of alone time with because we have a strong connection together. And if you trusted me and if you really believe me, you will let me have my alone time with this other woman. Like, that is some straight up cult shit right there.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure fucking Jim Jones and shit did this. So, he kind of, there's a weird section here where they speak to Stan about all the videos that were mentioned in the earlier like all the evidence that was mentioned in the beginning.
They start walking through all the stuff they already presented and have him like contextualize it and explain it.
Yeah, they do it in order though, which is kind of nice. At least there's one consistent thing in the whole damn movie. So the first thing that he really talks about is the where his camera breaks and the light is in his yard and like the sighting incident.
Yeah, the part where the random people come up to re-side his house.
Yeah. One of the things he said, and I wrote it down, is the molecules of the siding were cleansed. Which is fucking bullshit.
Meaning
totally
what?
Made up. That's totally made up. Doesn't make any sense, blah, blah, blah.
He says that, like, they wouldn't let him keep any of the pieces of siding that they tore off. Because, you know...
It had to prove to the landlord that they did it.
It was alien... stuff in there, like that was his evidence, so they were taking it because clearly these were people like
from the government.
At no point do they say this out loud, but it's highly implied that these are government people come to cover up the alien, and like he tries to record them and they turn away from him. But honestly, just if you had some people coming over re-siding your house and you're like, can I keep pieces of this?
They don't give a shit.
Can I record you? What's your name? What day is it today? That fucker's gonna be like, get this crazy asshole away from me.
Yeah, for real.
I'm not gonna look at your camera. Fuck you, you weirdo. For like, real. If these people, like, the siding company, he claims that the siding company didn't actually exist. I don't believe that.
They never
for a
verified
second.
any of that in the film
like,
either.
He says the landlord didn't send them. The landlord was never interviewed. There was no...
What if the landlord doesn't even exist?
Nothing was verified. I don't believe this for a second. I think he's bullshitting.
What if it's Stan Durden? What if it's him?
Like, it's just his alternate state went and talked to these people? Or that, like, his alternate ego called them to re-side it, and now he doesn't remember it, so he's like, who's doing this to me?
Yeah, we will not talk about Project Mayhem. Like, that's what it sounds like.
Exactly.
And he also he gives an account of the jumping incident.
Yeah, we got
And
jumped.
the funniest thing about this is that this is where they show the police report.
Yeah.
And the things he talks about in the interview do not match what's in the police report.
Yeah, like, it's exaggerated, he leaves things out. Like, there's stuff in the police report that if it actually happened, that would be part of the story when you retell it.
Yeah, but it's not like,
but
it's
he leaves
nothing.
it out completely.
Yeah.
Like, he describes the people who jumped him as military types.
I could tell by looking at them, he says.
Because he grew up on a military base, even though he was surrounded by Crips and Bloods. Okay, whatever. And they, like, cut him off, and he says they come out of nowhere, which to me means didn't happen.
Yeah.
And they, like, jumped out of the Jeep, they, like, cut him off on his bike, and they, like, tell him, oh, you gotta shut your mouth. And he says, no, I'm not gonna shut my mouth because this is an important thing. that I'm talking about. But according to the police report, he says, I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So those are two completely contradicting things right there.
And then they fight.
And then he fights them.
Fights four guys or whatever.
Yeah, it was like 4 guys, something like that. And he says they start kicking at his ass. So what he does is that he pulls some fucking Jean-Claude Van Damme stuff, and he like rips his bike chain off and starts beating them with it. And then they tase him.
But he doesn't say in the interview that he does that.
He never mentions the bike chain at all. The only reason we know that is because we paused the movie and read the police report that was on the screen.
Yes. Bullshit, yeah.
He says that, I felt something touch me in the back, and then I fell to the ground. Like, he felt like a tingling, and then he was on the ground. And then later on, he says, that they tased me. And in the police report, it says it was a taser without the handle. So it was like this yellow block in his hand that he tased him with, and then they jumped into the SUV and drove off. In the interview, he says that somebody called the cops, and then followed him. And then he gave a police report.
And that they followed the SUV.
Yeah. But in
the police report
doesn't mention anything about any other witnesses. Like, this is clearly him just going in and telling these people this is what happened. And, like, he goes back home and he's all beaten up, like his nose is bloody, and he's got, like, his arm got cut up or something. Like, he's showing his injuries.
It looks like he fell off his bike.
Either that or he was just... someone beat his ass for being a weirdo, and that he's just made this up to...
save face
to explain it and to make himself look like a badass.
So I want to talk about the next thing because it really pissed me off. He's talking about the alien abduction in which his knee is healed. Yeah,
the knee healing is pretty great.
And this upset me on multiple levels. The main one is that, again, I personally know somebody who's had multiple ACL, MCL, and meniscus injuries. So I'm very familiar with the treatment. Personally, myself, I tore my rotator cuff when I was in college. So I understand what the medical procedure is for these types of injuries. Yeah. Where you damage a joint. Unfortunately, it's a big part of my life.
Yeah, he said he fell off a ladder and twisted his leg on a wheelbarrow full of bricks or something like that.
And tore his ACL, his anterior cruciate ligament, and his hamstring.
Yeah. So just his whole leg was fucked up.
No, if he tore the whole thing, he would have torn his MCL and meniscus too. But he didn't do that.
Yeah, just the hamstring and the ACL.
And so he said this happened on a Thursday night. And then he went to the doctor on Friday. And he neglects to mention any type of MRI that had to be done to actually look into his knee to see if there was a tear. I don't think an MRI was done. He says that the doctor said his ACL was gone and that his hamstring was torn. Let me tell you something. If that shit is torn, you can't walk.
Yeah, was this an emergency room?
This is, seriously, well... My brother tore his ACL, meniscus, MCL when he was young. He was 8 or something. And the school nurse happened to not believe him. And he actually spent the rest of the day with a torn shit. Yeah. If this happens when you're an adult, you're in the ER. I would be like, get me to the hospital because something went wrong. Or, when I tore my shoulder, when I tore my rotator cuff, I did not go to the doctor right away. Because I didn't think that it was torn.
Yeah, you didn't realize right away.
I didn't realize it was torn. I thought that I messed something up in it, but I didn't realize that I actually tore something. So I actually didn't go to the doctor for about a week. Okay? So if something like this happens to you, you might not realize that you've actually torn something.
Yeah.
Okay? But he says he knew right away and went to the doctor, and that they were going to perform surgery the following Wednesday. Which is where I have issues with this story.
Yeah, less than a week? How did you get that shit scheduled so quickly?
Well, it's not even that. No fucking surgeon's going to do this. Because they actually do not want to do surgery. When you have an injury like this, they tell you, hey, Ruth, you tore your rotator cuff. It's not that bad. Do physical therapy in 2 months. I was in an immobilizer for 2 months because I wanted to let it heal on its own before I started physical therapy. Yeah. That's a basic course of action for an injury like this because surgery is a last resort.
Yeah, that's some extreme shit.
So the only way they would do surgery like that is if you fully dislocated and your knee was displaced and the fucking bone was sticking out.
Yeah, it's...
Like, that's the only way they're gonna do surgery on your shit, right?
He showed pictures. There was no external
it didn't even look swollen. And, like, when my brother tore his ACL meniscus the first time, man, that shit was like a football. Like, it was swole, and he couldn't walk. But guess what? They did surgery, like, 3 months after it happened. Because, or maybe not 3 months, but 2 months or something like that. Because you have to wait for the swelling to go down. You have to do non-surgical intervention first. You have to find a surgeon. Okay? Surgery calendars are booked out months in advance. Like, for example, when I had my tonsils burned out of my fucking throat because I had all those issues, I had to wait.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just get surgery the next week.
Yeah, like when
it doesn't work like that.
When one of my wisdom tooth had cracked open and, like, the nerve was exposed, and I, like, put up with it for a while as long as I could, and then I went into the dentist and paid out of pocket because I didn't have insurance. But even after I went in and they confirmed, yeah, that's fucked up, we need to take that out.
You had to wait.
It was still, like, a week or two until they actually took that shit out.
And, like, for injuries like this, like, my mom had rotator cuff surgery because she tore her rotator cuff too. She didn't have surgery for probably over a year. Because she was doing physical therapy first, like you're supposed to do. Like, surgical intervention is the last thing any orthopedic surgeon is going to want to do. I know this from personal experience. Like, I got one more fall on this bad boy, I'm getting surgery done on it.
Yeah.
Like, I know that, okay? Be careful out there, guys. It's dangerous. So that one, I just wanted to talk about that because it's so clearly made up in bullshit.
Yeah.
Because even after a week, your knee's still going to be swollen if you actually have a real tear. But basically, his story is that the day before the surgery, the aliens came and healed his knee.
Yeah, like, he woke up and his knee brace was gone and he could walk just fine. And then, like, later on, they found his knee brace, like, all burnt and fucked up, fused with bricks out in the yard.
By the way, that knee brace is not what they would give you.
Yeah, that was like...
It was something you could buy at the drugstore.
Yeah. Because
when my brother had his knee problems, well, the first time, the second time, and the third time, he had knee problems. What they do is they give you a heel to butt immobilizer.
Yeah.
Because what they need to do is stop any further damage from happening. If you genuinely had a tear or like injury that he said he did, you're going to be in that immobilizer for months. And what he had was not an immobilizer.
Yeah, it was just like a knee brace.
You could buy that at CVS or Walgreens or whatever.
And the experience that healed his knee, he said that his wife, maybe his girlfriend still at this time, but Lisa woke up. She woke up because the circuit breakers all went off in the house. Like, he claimed that the circuit breakers going off woke her up. And that he wasn't there. So she went walking through the house looking for him, couldn't find him, turned the circuit breakers back on, and then found him in the living room. And he claimed that he was looking for her, so he had some, like, time dilation thing. He didn't realize, like, he was gone and didn't realize it. Which just sounds like a psychotic episode to me.
Or bullshit.
Yeah, just him just covering up, like, he just ran in the fucking room and just showed up. He's like, oh, where am I? What? I've been looking for you. Like, that's an easy story to make up on the spot. And then the next day, they find this circle in the yard that just it looks
like one of those blue kiddie pools, like, just sitting there.
It's been sitting. It looked like there was a kiddie pool been sitting there for like a week or two, and the grass was like someone put a kiddie pool there and rotated it, so the grass was like in a circle shape. Yeah, and she was like, "Oh, that was from the last time that an abduction happened. There was a circle in the yard," and that was when he. Like, she said, hey, what's that? And he was like, I don't know, that looks like the last one. She was like, no, look. And then she has him walk over to him.
And
like,
he's
this whole, like, it's played out like this miraculous thing where she notices that his knee is healed. But he doesn't. And she has to, like, through this overly elaborate thing, have him walk to her. Mm-hmm. So that he would realize, oh, my knee is healed and my knee brace is gone.
It's bullshit.
It's such a fucking made up story.
It's bullshit. I don't think his knee was never damaged to begin with, so he's just being full of shit. The next thing.
Yeah, they go back to the doctor.
The doctor, and they record the doctor.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
He records everything. It's so paranoid. Like, these phone calls and these, like, interactions with people that... Like, when he recorded the people replacing the siding, when he talks to the doctors, like, all these situations he just happens to have recorded and documented. Like,
it's insanity.
He's looking for evidence where there is none.
Yeah, it's crazy. The next story he talks about is this was the kitchen alien. So this was the alien on the sliding glass door. And this is where he was sleeping in the living room when his stepson was having a sleepover. And he sees the naked kid, quote unquote. And he's like, oh, I definitely need to take naked photos of my stepson to blackmail him.
Yeah, because that's the reason why you take naked photos of your stepson. So that you can use it to embarrass him in the future. Yeah. Because, little kids are embarrassed by naked photos of themselves.
Actually, we are embarrassed.
Well, when you grow up.
When you grow up, yeah.
But even so, that's a fucking creepy thing to do, you goddamn weirdo.
But his reason was, I thought a peeping Tom was going to look at my stepdaughter. Yeah. Which is like some kind of Freudian fucking shit, y'all.
Yeah, that's why I would be peeping in the window.
To look at someone's kid,
to look at a little fucking girl.
It's...
Goddamn weirdo.
And, it's really disgusting, and we'll talk about it.
Oh, yeah, I love this next story. When he gets a picture of this girl that's, hiding in his yard.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He says, He says he just happened to be staring out the window, just sitting there, and he was feeling grateful for the friends that he had.
Yeah, that was direct quote.
Because this is right after his friends were like, we can't leave this guy alone. We got to keep an eye on him because weird shit keeps happening when he's alone. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a likely cover story. We're just not going to leave this guy. The reason why you make sure this guy is ever left alone is because...
He's a danger to himself or others.
The reason why you keep an eye on someone is because he's a fucking creep and you don't want him getting into shit when no one's keeping an eye on him. And he says, he went out into the yard and that this little girl came up to him and, he just happened to take a picture at the right moment to see her peeking out from behind a tree. And then everyone else came out and they were like, hey, what's going on? What happened out here? And he was like, oh, that little girl, my daughter, my alien daughter. I have a picture. He started showing everyone, and everyone's real impressed that he got this picture. It's like, wow, this is so cool. Let's put it on your computer. He plugged the camera into the computer, and what do you know? Miraculously, that picture was gone.
Doesn't exist.
All the other pictures were still there. It's just that one was gone.
He seems to really get off on convincing other people of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? He seems to be like, I don't know, how this happened, but it just happens to me, and my friends are impressed, and they're sad for me that these things are happening. It's you're the one doing this shit, right?
Yeah, at this moment is when they put on the screen this Richard Dawkins quote, which I'm sure is completely out of context, where he's saying how I'm open to the possibility of powers beyond my understanding existing in the universe. It's how convenient.
Yeah, and Richard Dawkins said that, but is this really about aliens?
Yeah, he probably did. This is just a classic example of quote mining. Fucking creationists do this shit all the time.
Yeah, and then it kind of transitions into the next part of the film is the filmmaker, J3 Productions or whatever, trying to convince you, the audience, that he's legit.
Yeah.
What they do is they talk to a physicist.
Experts, quote unquote, experts.
They talk to a physicist who's these equations that Stan Romanek writes are totally legit. But then he goes on to say that they were developed in the 1990s. The physicist they talk to is on the board of directors for, it looks like a bullshit institution.
Okay,
that investigates unconventional physics.
Yes. His principal interest is unified field theory, the so-called theory of everything.
So what this means is that this isn't accepted by scientists at large. Okay? Yeah. So like I mentioned at the very beginning of this, when you interview for a documentary like this, you already believe in the bullshit. So, after they talk to this physicist guy, they also talk to several...
First, let me just mention, here's an article, interview with physicist Claude Swanson, PhD. How does your aura work?
This is bullshit. He's a fake physicist.
This dude is full of shit.
Yeah, so...
None of that is real.
So his credibility is clearly in question. This physicist that they talk to.
Yeah. And he's the one who read Stan's regressive hypnosis equations that he wrote down.
And he says himself that they were developed in the 1990s. So it's like, Stan is clearly looking at this shit. And he's smart enough to know what this fake physicist would expect if aliens talked or whatever.
Yeah, like he says that the equations relate to propulsion and faster than light travel. Faster than light travel is not a thing. That's a thing that violates physics. So even if there was an equation that were to explain how to do that, how the fuck would we know? Like, if we were to read an equation that says this is how to do faster than light, we'd be like, this shit makes no sense.
But listen, though. This physicist they interview says himself that the Mexican physicist who developed the equation that Stan Romanek wrote down is outside of the, accepted norms of physicists. Yeah. So it's like he's acknowledging himself that it's pseudoscience.
Yeah, and right after he says that it's propulsion and faster than light, he says he's still only starting to figure out the equations. Like, he's constantly studying them. He's constantly finding new things. So how is he still finding new things and already knows that it's relating to things that we don't understand yet? Like, that's ridiculous.
I will fist fight this guy. Because...
Fight everybody. You need to fight all the people.
I mean, tell everybody, Ruth Adams, hardcore badass. Okay? That's who I am. As a person.
Built-in brass knuckles.
Yeah, look at this. Look at these knucks, brah. Like, I could throw down like nobody's business. After they talked to the fake physicist, they talked to multiple psychiatrists. Because, again, they're really trying to solidify Stan's sanity and legitimacy.
It was Stanislav Ojak, PhD in psychology.
Yeah, this motherfucker's 95 fucking years old. He's got some crazy Einstein hair. He's probably dead.
Yeah, I'm sure he is at this point. He was super old in that movie.
He couldn't talk very well. Basically, this guy, Stanislav, homeboy from the old country, he talks about how he administered all these psychological tests to Stan to determine his, mental capacity, insanity, and reasonability. The problem with this is that Stan is a sociopath, I think.
Yeah.
So anybody can pass these tests. And I do have some commentary on these psych evals, because I've had several throughout my life. I've had several of these psychological evaluations, so I kind of know what they're about. Like the one that tricks you into taking ADHD medication, because the test is bullshit. So this is similar. Basically, they're question tests where you fill out, a bubble for how you feel.
He gave him like a high stress level test. He gave him the Myers-Briggs personality test, which is bullshit, which has been fucking debunked. And he gives him a recall test and something else. And he says that part of the test-taking process was that he had to, watch Stan take the tests and to, analyze how he was reacting to the test, how his...
Of course, yeah, they do that.
And he says that Stan is calm throughout all of the tests, which he attributes to being, that's a totally normal thing. But I think it's kind of fucking weird for someone to be completely placid the entire time.
See, I took multiple tests, in my days when I may or may not have been institutionalized. And you actually fucking hate these because they ask you the same question 5 different times in 5 different ways. And by the end of it, you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, make this end. You're pulling your hair out. You look annoyed. The only way Stan could be calm and collected through all 5 of these tests, which took about 2 hours, which is probably also bullshit, is if you were thinking hard to make sure you put the right answers.
Yeah, you were really... Mm-hmm. And at the end, this... totally not legit psychologist says that he deems Stan sane because everyone's normal is different.
Which is bullshit.
Which is not something a psychologist would say.
Well, technically, I guess they would say.
Well,
because everyone's normal is different.
Well, if someone's normal was aliens are controlling my thoughts, and another person's normal was,
work stresses me out, bro.
Those, one of those is a little more believable, a little more credible than the other.
Yeah, it's problematic.
There's nothing on the level about this dude or his assessment of Stan.
And then after we pass these testimonial type...
Well, they interview another guy who is the dude who did the regressive hypnosis and his assessment of Stan.
Yeah, which we know is bullshit. Regressive hypnosis is shit, and it's made up, and
he characterizes Stan as an unassuming messenger.
This is where it gets weird.
Yeah, this is where it starts getting, like, not just the people around him are culty, but, like, these people who have been testing how legitimate he is, they start showing kind of, like, culty worship of Stan.
Stan is very good at making people think a certain thing about him. So after he says Stan is a reluctant messenger or whatever, it gets weird. And the film starts to talk about Stan's message.
Yeah.
And anytime somebody talks about their message, you should probably leave.
Yeah, you should, like, keep listening, but...
Take a step back.
Yeah, just stop listening in a way as, like, well, I need to really understand what they're talking about. Start listening to it as...
I'm going to have to interview about this, like, after it happens.
Like, how is this person trying to fuck with my head? Because anytime someone's doing that, like, that's what they're doing. That's what's happening. Like, one of the people interviewing just a friend of his, one of the fellow ufologist people, they say this thing that you hear a lot when someone's talking about someone who's clearly crazy. They say, why would he make it up? Like, what reason would he have to make these things up? He's just alienating himself. It's all these things. It just makes him look like a crazy person. Why would he say these things? Why would he subject himself to this? But with all of these people who consider him this crazy holy messenger and how he has this important message from the aliens and how he's going to change the world, he has every reason to make this shit up. He has people worshipping him.
Also, what's the fucking message, brah? There's no mention of what it fucking is. It's just Stan has it. Stan is special. These things happen to Stan. Stan's friends and family believe him because Stan's special.
Yeah, like, they mention how, like, the human race is in, like, a childlike state, and that this information that Stan has is going to help us develop into a more mature, spiritually, blah-de-blah, jerky-blah bullshit.
It's culty as shit.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. It's creepy. I did not like...
anytime there's the message, evolution of the soul, I think was a phrase that was used, and, like, anytime... a group is special and there's secret knowledge and there's a message, and like it makes me think of like the Gnostic cults of the pre-European, like post-Christianity world, and it's like it's a cult, y'all.
Yeah, like...
This is a cult.
I have kind of this weird personal interest in cults. I watch a lot of documentaries about cults and stuff, and this is some straight-up Branch Davidian shit right here.
It's...
This is some Heaven's Gate, we have secret knowledge, the aliens are talking to us, just believe everything we say and do everything we tell you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, anytime secret knowledge is mentioned, y'all gotta be careful. Y'all gotta get out. Y'all gotta, retain your autonomy.
Yeah. Because
secret knowledge, secret message, special people, like, this is cult language.
Yeah, earlier in the movie, his wife Lisa says that she would die for him, but she will not lie for him.
Yes.
That's some straight up cult shit right there.
Because...
like, she said that she wouldn't lie to him. All that really says to me is that she believes it.
She does. She believes every single thing of it.
So, of course, she doesn't have to lie if she believes it.
No, it's stupid. And,
okay, now do we want to get into
let's talk about...
the bombshell that gets dropped at the end?
So at the very end of the film, after all these things happen, goes to a black screen and some white text pops up. Stan Romanek arrested on child pornography charges in 2014. What?
Like, what? This seems kind of important. They buried the fucking lead.
So... convicted on possession of child pornography arrested.
Yeah, at the time the film was made, he had only been arrested, hadn't gone to trial yet.
Yes.
And when we saw this initially, we were like, we're going to follow this fucking trial.
Yes. And
this is fascinating.
I've been doing that. So in November of 2017, initially, his trial was postponed, but in November it actually happened.
Yeah.
And he was convicted on possession of child pornography with intent
He was charged with intent to distribute.
He was charged with possession and intent to distribute, but he was convicted on possession. And this is very important to note because at the very end of the film, they talk about how there's a computer virus that will plant child porn on your computer.
Yeah, they're like, oh, before you judge him too harshly, consider all this. And they show, like, article titles about viruses that can plant pornography on your computer.
However, when you look at his case and the evidence against him, the child pornography he was found in possession of was not on a computer.
Nope.
It was on an external hard drive or a flash drive.
Yeah.
And his claim was, and this really fucking gets me, his claim was, somebody planted it there because of aliens.
Yeah, either the aliens did it,
or the government did
it because he knew too much.
And the film goes on to state that this will come up in his trial.
Yeah, like they make a point in the movie and in like some of the articles about the trial before it happened that they were going to bring up the alien evidence to like shine a light on it and expose all this stuff.
However,
but what happened?
However, Stan Romanek's lawyer is a decent lawyer and doesn't actually bring it up at all in the trial because
it's not stupid.
Yeah, because duh. So basically, his lawyer doesn't bring up aliens at all in the trial. They make a considered effort to not do so, primarily because he would be seen as extra crazy.
Yeah. Like that would automatically shine out on everything else he has to say.
Yeah, so they didn't talk about aliens in the trial. He was convicted of possession, not of intent to distribute. I'm not entirely sure what his sentence was. I believe there was a significant fine associated with that and some jail time. Yeah. I think that was on the table. But basically, once you know that he was convicted of possession of child porn, not of actually abusing a child.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, he was never accused of or convicted of that particular crime. But he was convicted of possession of child pornography. And once you realize that, you're kind of like, this motherfucker.
Suddenly this part with the stepkids.
And those weird comments.
It's really creepy. It's like the part, like that's what, while we were watching the movie, the part where he claimed that the guys cut him off in the SUV and beat him up. Maybe he was just doing some creepy shit with a neighborhood kid.
He's peeping on a kid or something.
And the kid's parent came over and beat the shit out of him. And he just made up this story to cover up, to explain his injuries.
Maybe.
Like, that's entirely possible.
And
Fucking weirdo.
And I think part of this particular legal case against him and his argument, not legally, not in the case, but that it was involved and related to his alien experiences, make me even more concerned for his sanity.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to be a pedophile. I don't agree with pedophilia. I think it's disgusting and horrible.
Oh, that's a harsh stance for you to take. Well, you're bold to take a stand against child pornography.
Fuck child pornography. Fuck people who are into that shit. Get the fuck out. Like, you should be punished. Okay? Yeah. But I think his evident perversions kind of cast his whole alien shit into a different light. Yeah. Like, it kind of makes me feel like he's always been a pedo. He's always been a pedophile. Okay? It kind of makes me feel like his obsession and paranoia and concern for his children, quote-unquote children, and these alien kids, it kind of makes me feel like it's a diversion from what's really broken in him. And this is the pedophilia. Like, it's like, I'm not a pedophile. Aliens are contacting me. That's how I feel. Because it's like, clearly it's a distraction from the real fucked up shit that he wants to fuck kids.
Yeah, and as far as the whole cult aspect, whenever, like, the more power that a cult leader gets, the more shit they can get away with. So the more shit he's going to try and do. So, like, it's possible that he's always had these pedophilia urges, but he hasn't acted on them until he got to the point where, like, hey, all these people believe me, I can do no wrong by them. I bet that I can do this shit and I can explain it away and they'll just let me do it. Like, that's what cults always start off with, oh, I'm a special person and I have this hidden knowledge and you should listen to me. But it also ends up with, God said I can fuck your wife.
And it's also pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until the people who are in your little group say no.
Yeah, it's all about power until a rebellion of some kind happens. And then
you kill everybody.
Yeah, and when the rebellion happens, it always ends up being, well, those people are the non-believers, they're heretics, cast them out. And they're all liars. Like this is some Jim Jones shit.
It's very like the documentary though. It really makes you want to feel for him. Like it's designed to do that.
It's crafted to make him seem sympathetic.
And a lot of these types of movies are that way.
Yeah, the movie ends telling you to ask yourself, what if all this is true?
Yeah.
Which is manipulative as fuck.
Especially when you know that he was indeed convicted of possession of child pornography.
But that's also just a typical thing. Like, anytime someone's proposing something crazy to you, and you're like, well, this is clearly made up. And then they retort with, but what if it's all true and you're wrong?
And you can just be like, fuck you, buddy.
Like that, but that argument is the equivalent of, nuh-uh.
It is.
Like, it's nothing. It proves nothing, and all it does is it's designed to get you to doubt what you believe so that you'll believe what they believe.
Exactly. It's manipulative. And you know what? In all honesty, do I want to believe in aliens? Fuck yeah, brah.
Like, as far as the UFO part is concerned, are there things flying in the sky that we don't understand?
Proven true.
Yeah, probably. Like, we have
by the Pentagon.
we have photographic evidence that there's shit flying in the sky. Are they ships piloted by aliens who control the government? No, I don't believe that for a second. I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that there's little gray or green or whatever fucking color driving these things and trying to control us.
Are there aliens fucking with this one particular guy? The thing that bothers me...
What makes him so fucking special?
The thing that bothers me about alien abduction stories and this type of, like, fuckery is that it always happens in the United States, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why are we so special?
Although, if you really look into it, you can find some in, like, Russia and Mexico and stuff.
Give me fucking, like...
But it's not very common.
Give me some fucking alien abduction stories from fucking Vietnam or some shit.
And what a coincidence. Now that everyone has a camera in their pocket all the time...
Yeah, we don't see as many.
There hasn't been a significant increase in UFO sightings.
Yeah.
Like, you'd think there would, since everyone can just pull out a camera at any moment.
To be honest, though, if I look behind me right now and I see a little alien head behind that window right there, shit.
Yeah, my first assumption...
Shit a brick, y'all.
My first assumption would be someone put a fake alien head on the end of a stick and they're holding it up.
I'd be like, Exeter, is that you, bitch? Like, shit. You know I hate this.
It's your big forehead. Where's Brack?
Yeah, for real. Like, so... Basically, the Stan Romanek Story is a... Remember when you watch movies like this, that they're supposed to make you feel a certain way.
Yeah, like...
Just like Making a Murderer makes you feel a certain way. And then you learn a bunch of shit about the actual guy and you're like, fuck y'all, you deserve prison, right?
Yeah.
Like,
if any of you have watched Making a Murderer and you didn't actually look into it, he fucking did it.
He did it.
He actually did it.
He fucking did it. Does the justice system really fuck up? Yes, absolutely. But he killed her. Anyway, we'll talk about that maybe another day.
Yeah, though that's a whole other thing. But just remember, documentarians have an agenda. Mm-hmm. They're telling a story. There's, like, the way you make a documentary, you have to have a narrative. You have to have a very specific storyline. And, like, whether or not that storyline's true is irrelevant. You're telling a story, and you're using the footage that you have. However you need to edit or manipulate it to tell your story, you're going to do that because that's the job.
Yeah. This movie is a wild ride. Like, I recommend that you watch it.
It's
because it's funny.
There's a lot of good moments in it that are like...
Especially the alien videos.
Yeah, unintentionally hilarious moments. It's pretty great. Like, if you're into just watching crazy shit and laughing at it, this is high on the list.
Yeah.
This is a good thing.
Smoke a bowl, have a drink, do what you gotta do, put this motherfucker on, you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Just, you know...
It's fun, yeah.
But towards the end, it gets kind of depressing.
It gets depressing
like, the last three quarters are like, the vibe changes. It starts off like, this is silly, and it becomes very like, I don't feel comfortable anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, now that we told you what he has been convicted of, bring that in with you. Because I think when you watch this movie, this is the second time we've seen it, and we actually know about his criminal history.
Watching it the second time totally changed our perspective on this movie.
Yeah. Damn.
Like, the first time we were like, oh, this is goofy. What a goofy, crazy guy. He might be mentally ill. Maybe he's having seizures, blah, blah, blah. All these people, they're just taking advantage of this crazy person. But after you know, oh, this guy is a fucking pedo, and they've known that, like the documentarians, they knew that the whole time.
Yeah,
like,
they did.
They were in the editing stage when they added that information in at the end. Mm-hmm. So they were just crafting this story, and when you rewatch it, knowing that information that they didn't bother to mention until the end,
and that he was convicted, like a court of law found him guilty.
Then watching it again, when he brings up the shit about his stepkids and these alien kids, like hugging his leg, and him crying when these kids touched him, fucking unsettling.
Creepy. Yeah,
not cool at all.
But I mean, it's fun. Give it a try.
Yeah, it's an interesting, like I said at the beginning, it's an interesting study of human psychology.
Definitely.
And just the things that people believe and why they believe it, and the stories that people come up with
to deny something that's right in front of them.
Yeah, it's a strange case.
It's a trip. It's a fucking trip, y'all. So this has been the Totally Made Up podcast, where we talk about things that are totally not made up, like the Stan Romanek Story. And we watched Extraordinary, the Stan Romanek Story, and definitely nothing about it was made up.
Not at all. There was no way there was a cover-up of something creepy and unsettling and
totally
unseemly.
True.
We're not...
Yeah.
So, we have a Gmail account. We have a Twitter.
Don't email us. Don't fucking email me.
We have, if you're watching this on YouTube, we have it on SoundCloud. If you're listening on SoundCloud, it's also on YouTube. So yeah, like this has been fun. Well, see you next time.
All right, bye y'all.
Check your sources.